CBS News Chief White House correspondent Major Garrett is in Washington, joins us today. And Major, I want to get to that news about The Apprentice in just a moment, but I do know that you've got some new reporting surrounding the ongoing search for a Secretary of State. What can you tell us?
Well, this might fatigue our audience, and I understand if it does, because names take on a prominence one day that they didn't simply possess 2 days before. And that's now apparently true, because I've picked up in the last 12 hours from very significant people within the Trump inner circle that Rex Tillerson, who is currently the president, CEO, and chairman of Exxon Oil Corporation, is now being given serious consideration as a potential Secretary of State. Now, he's not going to be, I'm not told he's going to be the pick. Romney is still in the mix. Giuliani is still in the mix. John Bolton is still in the mix. But there is activity of a specific kind around Tillerson that is leading those in the inner circle to say, hey, his stock is rising. And there's some interesting elements to this. He doesn't have any government experience, Rex Tillerson. His company, Exxon, explores for oil and natural gas in 6 of the 7 continents on this planet and has business operations in, I believe, 50 to 60 different countries. That would give him a sort of general understanding of the world, but nothing that's particularly oriented toward diplomacy. And it would be highly unusual for someone of his wealth, estimated in several billions of dollars, to be a Secretary of State. Even so, he's being given, I'm told, real serious consideration of the kind that was different in focus and framing than it was 3 or 4 days ago. It is, as I said at the top, fatiguing to follow and try to track this story because names rise and then they settle back down. I would say the thing I'm most confident about is the available choices are 4: Tillerson, Romney, Giuliani, and John Bolton. And right now, at the top of that list of 4, subject to change, as has become painfully obvious to our audience, going through all of these various descriptions of mine, Tillerson's at the top now.
Interestingly, then, what jumped out...
And it's an important weekend. It's an important weekend because this is the last weekend before a decision is going to be made. This decision is going to be launched next week. So the last bit of intense deliberation, lobbying, consideration, and possibly second or third level interviews is going to happen this weekend. So we're nearing the culmination of this process, and that's why I'm bringing this Tillerson information to you, because sometimes in politics, and sometimes it's often very true with President-elect Trump, the last person in or the last voice heard can be the one with the most clout.
And so striking about Tillerson's candidacy then, number one, another ally of fossil fuels. And really, number 2, as we saw perhaps with Governor Branstad, who's now been nominated to be the ambassador to China, whose relationship with Chinese President Xi Jinping reportedly goes back years and years. We also know that Rex Tillerson has done a lot of business in Russia and reportedly has something of a good relationship with Vladimir Putin.
Yes, along the same lines that Governor Branstad does with Xi Jinping in China, knowing them before they are what they are now, or what they have become, the leader of their country, when they were lower-level operatives within, in this case, the Russian government. And ties to Vladimir Putin may or may not be an asset when it comes to the Trump orientation to foreign policy. I can tell you some in the transition are nervous about that kind of rabbit hole during a confirmation hearing. They're also just nervous about the idea of having Rex Tillerson, who has all these other business ties around the world, being a Secretary of State, because they wonder if Democrats in a confirmation process are going to bring up either business deals of Exxon or potential conflicts of interest. They just wonder if this is a confirmable nominee for Secretary of State, but others in the transition have come to believe it might be, and Rex Tillerson is, for that reason, being given very serious consideration.
He would be another billionaire that added to this cabinet. You mentioned conflict of interest very quickly, Major. I mentioned previously, as did you in your piece, that he will remain, will Donald Trump, an executive producer of The Celebrity Apprentice. It is something, as you noted, it is a legacy credit, but what to make of it all?
It's a legacy credit. He's not the showrunner. That's a term of art in Hollywood for people who are actively involved running and bringing a show to air and doing all of the hard work that requires. Executive producer in a legacy sense just means you were there at the conception of the idea, which Donald Trump, in all fairness, was. And he has a stake in this show. And it is perfectly acceptable and utterly normal in show business and in Hollywood for a legacy executive producer credit to be retained and the royalties that you derive from that to come to you. If you're the creative inspiration or partially the creative inspiration behind a hit show, guess what? You get to make money, and you get to make money for a very long time. We just haven't had an executive producer who also happens to be the chief executive of the United States. That's new, as is so much with the emerging Donald Trump presidency.
Yeah, Major Garrett with today's new thing. As always, Major, we do appreciate the insight.
Thanks.